Beautiful. That's a beautiful arrangement of Daniel Nahmad's song that he wrote as a solo, and a great arrangement for the choir. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. It reminds me of how one message can be heard in lots of different ways and become an echo. And I wanted to, let me just tell you, bring you up to date, because we took a week off from our series. We've been talking about the ideas from this book called The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself, a favorite book of mine, one that I've read several times. It's devoid of a lot of fluff, and it goes right to the point of spiritual growth and unfoldment and awakening, with very practical ideas of how that can happen for us. And we had a couple of weeks, and we took a week off last week, and we're back to it again today. And what I was thinking about as I wanted to introduce this topic of the day is this notion that so many of us hold that our biggest struggle is in spiritual growth, is in the feeling that we are confounded in feeling happier and experiencing more well-being in our life by the circumstances that we find ourselves in, which includes people, places, and things that are not showing up according to our preferences. And so there's a quote from the book here, which I think is actually quite comical, if it were not true. So it's like, oh, isn't that funny? And you go, oh my God, that's true. So it says, just stop for a moment. This is on page 91 if you're keeping track. Just stop for a moment and see what you have given your mind to do. You said to your mind, I want everyone to like me. I don't want anyone to speak badly of me. I want everything I say and do to be acceptable and pleasing to everyone. I don't want anyone to hurt me. I don't want anything to happen that I don't like. And I want everything to happen that I do like. You're with me, right, so far? Yeah. Then you said, now mind, figure out how to make every one of these things a reality, even if you have to think about it day and night. And of course, your mind said, I'm on the job. I will work on it constantly. That's a full-time job. Even in retirement, that could be going on. Even when he leaves, even when you graduate, even when you get the nest egg, even when you get it back, even when you're healed. We got a buzz going on here, Buzz. Is this the microphone by any chance? I don't know. That's the speaker. With Buzz Lightyear in the speaker here. So we understand, and it's so important for us to understand that the reality of spiritual growth, and we just can't just say this enough. I can't hear it enough, like Fly, wake up, this is for you, this is Larry's message, is that what I'm trying to realize, this sense of well-being and peace and wholeness, is not have anything to do with what's going on out there in my life. Now that doesn't mean that I completely give up trying to make changes in my life. It doesn't mean that I don't have any goals, for example. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to have a vision for my life, which would involve things and situations and things unfolding. It doesn't mean that wouldn't be part of my life. It just means that I know at a deep level that the shifting of circumstances and people being the way I want them to be or not being the way they are, that I want them to be, is not going to be the turning point for my well-being and my happiness. It just cannot be, because the truth of who I am is immune to that, is immune to those changes. Should I change microphones, or is it just the speaker that we might want to turn the speaker off? Could we turn the speaker off? I could turn the speaker off. Should I do it? Check, check. Oh, we got this one, okay. We got two really powerful speakers, so we can turn one off. You guys can still hear me, so it's good. We kind of overbuilt the speaker system, which is, I don't know, there must have been some guy involved with that. But anyway, do you really need 400 horsepower? Yes, I do. Yes. Okay. That's right. That's right. So, but keep it up, girls. I mean, keep working on us. We'll eventually figure out where the true power is. So what this is really about is this is a setup for this message today, so that we don't spend more time than we need to going down the wrong road. You know, and these master teachers, if you read their writings, these people who have gone that full distance, you know, through illusion to realization of the truth of their being, they all say basically the same thing. They went, I don't know what all this struggle was about. I don't know why I was trying to, you know, achieve enlightenment. And, you know, it was all of that struggle is a testimony to believing that what we want is not here. And that it's not here in this time and place, but the presence of God, what we call the presence of God, the divine, is when and where? It's here and now. If it's for real, then it must be here and now. And if it's here and now, then, you know, if you're not experiencing the presence of God and the presence of God is here and now, then who moved? You know? I mean, it's this idea that the work for us is to shift our awareness out of a feeling of separation, as the song was saying, and lifting the veil of what's already here, of what's already true. Jesus couldn't say it any more plainly when he said, the kingdom of God is within you. It's in the midst of you. And you say 6 more months, then comes the harvest. I say the fields are already ripe. The fields are ripe. So we are here not to plant fields that someday will yield a harvest of well-being. We are here to harvest what is already here. We are here to make real for us what the mystics know, what the master teachers have taught, that what we're looking for is seeking us. And we're the ones we've been waiting for. We are the enlightened ones that are still under the veil. That's it. That's it. And so that would be wonderful if we could just go, I got it. Okay, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to know who I am and all my work is done. But the problem is that we have places that we don't like to go. What was that? The places you will go. What was that? Dr. Seuss. Yeah. Oh, the places you will go. The places you will go if you are willing, but it's the places that you won't go becomes the barrier to the realization that we're looking for. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Does anyone want to leave now? You may just feel uncomfortable. And I remember years ago, this shows you how old I was as a father, but they had a thing at Disneyland. It was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which was 1,000,000 years old. But if you sat in the seats, they had this time in the movie where suddenly all of the mice got loose. And because this is like a 3D virtual reality experience, they had this wind blowing, through, and it felt just like there was little mice running through your feet, and people were lifting their legs up and screaming, and whoa. Yeah. Hey, we'll mess up the electronics today. Then you want to buy the tape. Well, I seem to have lost my little... Let's see. Checking? Yeah. I think I need another piece of tape. Oh, well. Anyway, so that was... What's that?
The mice got it.
The mice got it. So I think that's what it is. We end up being frightened by those things which seem real to us, but are really not real to us. They are stories that we've made up.
I'm going to tape you, Larry.
Tape me up there, man. Probably ought to tape my feet to the ground, too. So the places that we don't want to go, that's like the threshold to our spiritual growth. And I spent the day yesterday with our Be Peace training, Reverend Denise, and these beautiful beings who came all this way to help facilitate. And that's a lot of what this course is about. It's asking us if we are willing to pause from a reaction to life or other people so that we can access a more true part of ourself. And by accessing a more true part of ourself, we can make a different decision. We can actually see things that we couldn't see before. We can actually experience what's truer for us than the reactive mind, which is clearly that you or that is what's wrong with me. You know that one? It's so easy to go, I'll tell you what's wrong with me. This, we have a list, and then we have people on that list. And that's the reactive mind. That's the mind that just goes up against comes up against an old story. And the old story, you and I all have our stories, where somewhere in our life, conditions that are similar to the one that's arising in this moment meant that we got hooked. You know, we thought that we weren't good enough, we weren't loved, we didn't know enough, we weren't smart enough, there was some lack or limitation in our experience. And then when something that shows up like that in our life, then we're back we are again, having that reactive experience. But we don't have to. That's what the masters have taught. We don't have to react. Yeah, we may react, but we can do it again. And when we go back again and we review a situation in our life with a recognition that there is a greater truth, we can pause so that we might access that we might realize that we might move from the head, which is so full of story and judgment and superficial understandings, move from that craziness, insanity, from which place all wars are fought, yes? And all sense of separation is born. And we move into the heart. And when we move into the heart, we move into that field. Like Rumi said, beyond right and wrong, there is a field, and I'll meet you there. And that's where we can meet the divine. That's where we can meet love without condition. That's where we can meet peace that passes human understanding. It's in the heart. And we have to be willing to come up against the discomfort in a conscious way. Because no one is going to come along and take it out. There's no issuectomies available at the clinic. We would love to go to a therapist who could just, say the right words and heal us. But what therapists do, and what a really healthy process does, is it brings it up in a safe and a gentle way so that you can look at it. You can see it really for what it is and for what it is not. And in that space, you see that you have a choice. You see that you have a choice. And it's our responses to all these conflicts in our life, that's what determines how we evolve. You want to know what your evolution depends on? It depends on you. It depends on me. It depends on how we respond to those conflicts. Because one response leads to, this is judgment, leads to contraction, leads to resistance, leads to stuckness, and it leads to suffering. And there's another one, and that leads to the light. That's the truth. That's expansion. That's connection. That's you and I as one. And that choice, however hard to believe, exists in every single moment and in every single situation has that choice point. There's a poem by Hafiz kind of speaks about this. It's called Tripping Over Joy. It says, what is the difference between your experience of existence and that of a saint? The saint knows that the spiritual path is a sublime chess game with God, and that the beloved has just made a fantastic move. That the saint is now continually tripping over joy and bursting out in laughter and saying, I surrender. Whereas, my dear, I'm afraid you still think you have 1,000 serious moves. What? When we see that in every given moment there is a choice that would bring us peace, then our work is not done until we can find a way to make that choice. That doesn't mean we're not going to be dealing with stuff in our life. That doesn't mean that we don't have to have difficult conversations with people. It doesn't mean that we don't have to make choices in our life in which we move away or closer to individuals in our life or jobs or situations or whatever. It doesn't mean that. But it means that the heart, which is the only thing that's going to determine your experience of your life and the only thing that's ever going to give you a sense that you possibly could be free of your suffering, that choice always becomes one that we have to make. And when we can make that choice, it opens up a world of possibility, a world of love. And it's often only always on the other side of some barrier that seems so real to us. It seems something that we can't confront, something that we're afraid of, something that when we get close to it, it's like a force field that pushes us back. And those are our fears. But what's so remarkable about it is those lines, those imaginary lines that we don't want to cross are actually the portal to our freedom. Do you understand what I'm saying? Has anyone ever experienced that in their life? That which they kept retreating from and thinking, oh my God, I can't do that. And they found the gumption, they found the chutzpah, they found the internal willingness. And maybe their life became so much suffering that they said, can't be any worse than this. I'm going across the line. And they do that, and they experience something amazing, a new life. And it was always there, but this seemed to be this uncrossable moat full of all the scary stuff. So I shared this with you before, but I'm going to share it with you again. It's the risk of me being around a while. So we were on vacation several years ago in Maui, and I have this fascination with scuba diving, and I also am afraid of drowning. So for my whole life, I've had a fascination with scuba diving and never gone diving, and I've had this fear of drowning. So when you're on vacation, you're a little bit more open, you're a little bit more surrendered, and you're dropping guards a little bit, So we're staying at this resort, and there's a sign by the pool that says, Scuba Clinic today. Try it out in the pool, and if you're still interested, we're going out in the ocean for a dive. So I said to Denise, you know what? I think I might do this. I can get in the pool, 6 feet deep. So she says to me, well, I want to do it because I know that if you're going to go off on diving trips, those are some beautiful places, and I want to be there too. So it helps to have a partner sometimes when you're confronting your difficulty. So we get to the lesson, we get in the pool, and our guy tells us to put all the equipment on. And this guy's talking. He talks like this. He goes, all right, my name is Adi, and I'm from New York, and I'm going to help you learn how to scuba dive. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling that really confident around this guy who sounds like a New York cab driver that's going to teach me how to scuba dive. I mean, I know cab drivers could be reckless and maybe, just the way he sounds. So my judgments are really kicking in about this individual. Anyway, so Adi says, we're going to get the tanks on, then we're going to go in the pool. You're going to go round and round and round. You got plenty of air, nothing to worry about. Okay, so let's try it. So he explains everything. You got your regulator, your gauge, and he says, you got an inflatable vest. You push a button, you come right up to the top. There's nothing to worry about. So okay, I like that. I didn't know they had those. But I thought, all else fails, I'm pushing that button, I'm coming to the top. So anyway, so he said, okay, so now you want to breathe through this, what's it called? Regulator. I got all the terminology, you can tell. Breathe through the regulator, and he says, it's going to feel like you're not getting enough air. Your brain's going to first say, you're not getting enough air, but you're getting enough air, okay? You're getting enough air. So I put it on, I go, yeah, it's a little lean there, but all right, I can do that. He goes, okay, now put your face down in the water. So I go, okay, well, I can put my face down in the water because I've snorkeled before, right? So I put my face down in the water, and this is cool. I just go along the surface of the pool, come back. I go, yeah, I got this. He goes, okay, now, I want you to dive down. So down I go, dive down to the bottom of the pool. It's only like 5 feet deep. As soon as I get to the bottom, I go, suddenly my breathing goes from normal to panic. It's all in the mind, right? And I'm going, I don't have enough air. And I'm thinking, I'm sucking up, the gauge is probably dropping by the second here. I may not have enough to get to the shallow end of the pool. So I'm like worried now, how am I going to make it back? But anyway, I do make it back. And he said, how was that for you? Actually goes, so how was that for you? And I said, it was okay, but I panicked when I got down low. And he goes, well, just do it again. All right, so I'm going to go down again. And next time it's a little easier. Finally get around about the 5th time, and he says, all right, so who wants to go out in the ocean? He says, we're going to go out about 300 yards past the 3rd buoy. We're going to go down about 30 feet, down into our dive spot. It's going to be amazing. I don't think I'm ready for that. I was good in the pool. He goes, well, you know what? You could just stay in the pool. Now understand, if you have a fear in life, you don't want someone kicking you and throwing you into the deep end, right? So he understood that. And it's important that we understand that about ourselves. But you're testing the boundaries. You're testing the boundaries. So he said, just keep going around the pool. So I went around the pool 5 or 6 times. By the time I had done that, I realized that that part of my brain that was panicking about not having enough air, we realized I am getting enough. I have all that I need. I could sense that, and I could feel that whether I was 5 feet down in the pool or I was in the ocean, water is water. And so I said, okay, let's go. So Denise and I, we went out, and you paddle, you put your flippers on and you swim backwards out to the dive site. And he goes, okay, let's all go down. So down we go. And I just tell you, my experience was amazing. Down about 20 feet, and I was quick. I went down very quickly. And I looked up, and I could see all these people, doing this, and it was through the shimmering light of the sun coming through. And I was like, the angels were singing, baby. I was like, this is so cool. And I knew in that moment, that what I'd wanted to do my whole life, that pull, to explore this amazing world. It's another world. It's like those people that want to go out into space. I wanted to go down to the sea, I'm in the Jacques Cousteau kind of calling to explore the depths. And there were schools of fish and everything you see down there, and turtles that were down under the reefs and the beautiful coral. I was like, this is so great. So I'm swimming along, and I noticed that Denise is going like this, and she's like wanting to go up. And so the instructor, this is this guy who I just made fun of, this master teacher who sounds like a New York cab driver, he sees it in her eyes. He sees the panic in her eyes. And she just wants to go up. And he looks at her, he said, take my hand. Or he didn't say it, but he gestures, take my hand. And he takes her hand. And he gently, ever so gently, this New York cab driver guy, takes her hand and gently takes her into the deeper water as her breathing resumes to normal. It was a beautiful thing. We're all capable of moving through our fears, but the conditions have to be right. You have to be ready. You have to be motivated. And maybe you sense that there is a more beautiful world. There is some sense of freedom that you are not experiencing in your life right now. It might be around a relationship. It might be a love, challenge that you have in your life where you come up against that kind of intimacy and you back up. Or maybe it's some creative expression where someone told you you couldn't paint or you couldn't create. And so when you want to think about dabbling in your art, that voice goes off. But you know what? I know there are people in this world who are dedicated to taking you deeper and taking you into another world. That's what chaplains are for. That's what ministers are for. That's what anybody who's been through it before. Because, there's people who have crossed over those fearful boundaries sitting in this room right now. They've been through cancer. They've been through chemotherapy. They've been through bankruptcies. They've been through divorces. And they know there is life on the other side of it. And that there's a consciousness of that truth in this community. And there are those people, those are allies to us that are wanting a new life. And if we get serious about changing, we get serious about breaking through those boundaries, there will be people that we will draw into our experience. They might sound like Adi the cab driver, but be masters of taking you where you want to go. Because they've been there again and again and again, and they know what you need to help you cross that threshold. And these thresholds, we have to realize, are made of thoughts. They're not real. It's like the example in the book. He says, these electronic fences that you can put around to contain your animal in the yard. It used to be you had to have a fence, but now you can bury a wire all the way around the perimeter of your yard. And then you put a special collar on the animal, and when they get close to that buried wire, they get a zap, and they back up. And that's what it's like for us. We get near our fears, we get zapped, and we back up. But what the animal doesn't know, and what we're trying to remember as well, is that if that animal kept testing, and was willing to go through that discomfort, which certainly would not kill it or even harm it, eventually would realize it could get on the other side without harm. But yes, there would be discomfort. And that's the boon beyond comfort. That whole other world that animal, that being can explore is on the other side of discomfort. So I share that with you today because the good news about living a few years is I've broken through a few of those. And I know it's true. And I know you have too. And I know there's no end. I don't care unless you're not breathing anymore, in which case you wouldn't be here. So everyone applies. That everyone in this room has a cutting edge. And remember, your evolution, your experience of the fullness of life is butting right up against, right now, some fear in your life, some perceived limitation. If you're willing to test that, push up against that, see what that discomfort feels like, be conscious of it. Maybe it's in your gut, maybe it's, butterflies in your stomach. For me, I would actually freeze when I was in a boat and I was looking into deep water. It started out that way, I would freeze. But then over time, as I became more present with that, I realized I don't have to freeze. I can be wary of what appears to be a danger for me. And that's how it works, a little at a time. Are you willing this week to move closer to a perceived boundary in your life and just test to see, could you be with the discomfort? Could you be with it for 10 seconds? But maybe you did 9 seconds yesterday. Could you do 10 seconds? That's how it happens. And find someone in your life who has been through that. They're around. They're around. Call them forth, either overtly or in consciousness, to help you cross that barrier. Because that's what we're here for. If we were going to do this on our own, it wouldn't be all of us people bumping into each other. We're here to co-create and to bring forth the kingdom of God on earth. Do it in partnership with each other. There is someone that can take your hand and take you deep into that deeper water. And my God, it's beautiful. Amen? Amen. Good.